Welcome to One Perfect Enemy, a small series where I'd like to take a look at some enemies from video games that I consider to be perfect. This includes their overall design, as well as what they contribute to the gameplay and lore of the respective games. This video's subject is the Headless Kamikaze from Serious Sam, all of them. The Headless Kamikaze, referred to in the game as Beheaded Kamikaze, is exactly that, a headless freak, according to Sam, that runs at the player in an attempt to blow them, and himself in the process, up. Design-wise, the Headless Kamikaze perfectly encapsulates the game's absurd humor. He is not the only headless enemy you fight in the games, but he's the only one whose existence just makes no sheer sense. The other ones at least carry their heads around with themselves, while this one goes completely naked. Well, at least he's wearing pants. Instead, he carries around two comically large bombs that look like they're straight out of a Tom and Jerry cartoon, proudly holding them up as if it were an excuse to show off his biceps, almost like he's trying to tell the player, guess what I'm gonna do with these. And these bombs aren't for show either, as they perfectly demonstrate the game's gory nature, when the Kamikaze inevitably blows up and showers the player in a stream of bright red juices and body parts. One can only assume that the reason for his headlessness is the fact that he quite literally screamed it off. But where does that screaming even come from? And how is he able to even tell where he's going? Who knows? Not him, that's for sure. All of these things combined instantly tell the player everything they need to know. Big man, runs at you, holds two bombs, screams like crazy, kill him fast, or blow up. The screaming is especially important for the gameplay's sake, as it allows the player to know where any Headless Kamikaze are at all times. Without even looking around, you can hear how many Kamikaze are around you, which direction they're coming from, and how far away they are. Well, unless you play the classic version of the first encounter. The audio doesn't quite add up in that one. But in a game that takes place in a first-person perspective, this design choice is the most genius way of going about it. The fact that he will never stop running then forces the player to keep moving as well. Serious Sam is known for running backwards the video game, and the Headless Kamikaze is almost entirely responsible for that fact. When he is around, you can not stop to rest. What I find very beautiful about him is the fact that he's incredibly weak, at least health-wise. A single shotgun blast will usually take care of him, and spraying and praying with the other weapons will usually yield the same results. This allows for very satisfying gameplay, as it leads to you being able to create explosions anywhere, even without the rocket launcher's help. However, he is also designed in such a way that just shooting him once with the pistols or automatic rifles will not kill him outright. Instead, he briefly pauses, presumably for the first time in his entire life, which allows for more strategy. You can use that to keep Kamikaze at bay and delay the inevitable, quickly save your skin if they happen to get too close, or to strategically get him closer to other enemies and blow those up as well. This is easiest to do with other Headless Kamikaze, as they all move at the same speed and usually spawn in large groups already. In certain instances, however, they also spawn together with tougher enemies, such as clears, for which the preferred method of taking them out just so happen to be explosions. All of these aspects work together in perfect harmony, to the point where just changing one of them will ruin the whole design. This is demonstrated best in Serious Sam 2, where an enemy named Marcel the Clown occasionally takes over the Headless Kamikaze's role. However, he fails at it in several regards. For starters, he only laughs when spawning in as well as sometimes when moving around, making it less obvious where he is at all times. Furthermore, he possesses more health than the Kamikaze, making him less satisfying and reliable to take out. And lastly, his design as a killer clown is silly, but not as uniquely weird and over the top as a shirtless, headless suicide bomber. No, the Headless Kamikaze is perfect just the way he is, and I wouldn't want to change anything about him. He is so iconic to Serious Sam as a whole that you really couldn't take him away without dearly missing something in return. It's his silly and recognizable design, his iconic screaming, and the way he makes an already hectic and fast-paced shooter even more intense that make him, in my eyes, one perfect enemy. Another enemy that I consider for the spot is the Clear. I'd argue that they are almost just as iconic to the game's identity, both design-wise and gameplay-wise. Their skeleton appearance fits the ancient ruins aesthetic of the games, and they also signal the location to the player via the clackety-clacks of the hooves. And much like the Kamikaze, they too force the player to keep moving constantly via the high speed and the chambers that they throw at them, and even test the player's reflexes by charging at them, forcing them to step aside at just the right moment. The only reason I don't consider them perfect is simply because they have just a tiny bit too much health. If they died reliably to a shot from the double-barrel shotgun, they would be both satisfying to fight and satisfying to take out. Since this is only the case in Serious Sam 2, I can't give them the title of being a perfect enemy in all the games. But what do you think? Do you have any ideas for enemies from other games that you consider to be perfect? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know. I also have ideas for more enemies in this series, so please let me know if this is something you'd enjoy. Until next time, take care and go yourself.